You drift softly into the world where life first whispers, a realm so small it seems almost unreal. The air is filled with quiet motion, invisible currents carrying molecules that shimmer like liquid light. In this intimate expanse, the strands of DNA rise and fall like delicate threads of silk, coiling and uncoiling in a slow, endless dance. Each twist holds a secret, a set of instructions older than memory, yet always present. You lean closer, tracing the spirals with your mind, feeling their gentle pulse. Adenine meets thymine. Cytosine finds guanine. They pair effortlessly, as if by instinct, forming the rungs of a luminous ladder that stretches beyond what your eyes can see. The pairs fit together in a rhythm that is at once exact and graceful, like a soft heartbeat that echoes through the fabric of the cell. Every pairing carries meaning. Every turn of the helix tells a story. As you glide along the DNA, you notice its patterns. Some sections repeat in comforting predictability, a lullaby of life itself. Other regions twist into unexpected shapes, subtle variations that hint at possibilities, at change, at evolution in its quietest form. These tiny imperfections, almost imperceptible, are not mistakes. They are invitations, gentle nudges toward diversity, adaptation, and growth. You feel the balance between stability and change, between what has always been and what is quietly becoming. Around you, the cellular environment hums with soft energy. Proteins float like lanterns in a warm sea, each folding and twisting with precision. Some carry messages, others perform tasks invisible yet vital. Enzymes move with careful grace, proofreading, repairing, and guiding, ensuring that life's code is preserved yet adaptable. You watch as a strand of DNA unwinds slowly, a patient spiral opening to reveal its message. Nucleotides drift in, pairing with their partners in a dance of quiet fidelity. The replication feels like a conversation, a whisper of continuity that has repeated billions of times across generations. Time itself seems suspended here. Moments stretch like a ribbon, soft and pliable. You realize that every replication, every pairing, every subtle mutation is part of a rhythm older than your own life, a rhythm that connects all living things. You feel an intimacy with this process, a sense that the very essence of life is present within you, within every cell, every thought, every breath. Each turn of the helix is a story, each sequence a song written in letters that you cannot speak but can feel. You watch RNA threads form from DNA, copying messages to carry them where they are needed. They move like soft currents, slipping through molecular machines that read, interpret, and translate. Proteins emerge from these instructions, folding into shapes both strange and beautiful. Some are sturdy, forming the scaffolding of cells. Others are flexible, moving and bending to carry out precise functions. Their elegance is mesmerizing, as if every fold is a note in an invisible symphony. You feel their movements as a gentle flow, a quiet music that resonates through the microscopic world. Beyond the DNA, the cell pulses with life. Organelles drift like islands in a luminous sea, each with its purpose. Mitochondria generating energy, the nucleus cradling the code, vesicles ferrying messages. Everything moves in harmony, a slow choreography of necessity and grace. You sense a gentle intelligence in this dance, not conscious but purposeful, a balance maintained through countless interactions. The cell is a universe unto itself, tiny yet vast, a world of motion and stillness intertwined. Your attention returns to the DNA, resting again in its double helix. The familiar spiral comforts you. You think of the countless times it has replicated, carrying instructions with fidelity yet allowing for subtle change. Mutations, so small, ripple softly through generations, shaping diversity and evolution. You feel that life thrives in these quiet adjustments, in the space between precision and variation. The blueprint of existence is flexible, resilient, and endlessly creative. You linger on the concept of memory. Within these molecules lies the record of countless generations, a silent archive of experiences and adaptations. Life preserves itself not just in the present but across time, each cell a messenger, each strand a historian. You sense that this memory is not rigid, but alive, continuously rewritten in delicate, deliberate strokes. You feel a kinship with it, an understanding that life is an ongoing story, one you are part of, one that continues quietly within your body. Even in this microscopic silence, you feel movement. Proteins fold, strands pair and unpair, enzymes glide along, and the cell breathes in gentle waves. The cycles are endless, a quiet rhythm that soothes rather than overwhelms. You imagine this rhythm expanding outward, connecting every cell, every organism, every living being in a chain of delicate vibrations. The universality of life hums softly, a constant undercurrent beneath the noise of the visible world. As you drift back, leaving the microscopic world behind, you carry the patterns with you. The spirals of DNA linger in your thoughts, not as abstract structures but as living, breathing threads. You feel the pulse of life within, the quiet intelligence and care embedded in every cell. The world of molecules has left an impression, a gentle reassurance that life is continuous, adaptive, and profoundly intricate. The spiral of life coils in your imagination, and you sense that it is only the beginning. There is a next step, a process that continues this rhythm in a new way. The division of cells, the multiplication of life, and the quiet miracle of continuity. You settle gently into the quiet world within your own cells, where life is written in a delicate code. Imagine a slender spiral staircase, its steps formed of 4 letters, A, T, C, and G, paired together in silent harmony. These letters are not symbols on a page but notes in an ancient melody, guiding every motion, every shape, every function of your body. You float along this spiral, sensing the rhythm, soft and unhurried, as the letters unfold their story. Each pairing is precise, A with T, C with G, creating stability that feels fragile yet eternal. You notice the gentle repetition, the way each segment mirrors the last, yet introduces subtle differences, like quiet variations in a song. These tiny differences carry possibility, the whisper of change that allows life to adapt and evolve. You feel a calm wonder at this balance, where structure and flexibility coexist, where perfection and imperfection are both necessary. As you drift along, you watch a segment of DNA prepare to guide the creation of a protein. Proteins are the artisans of life, folding into intricate shapes, performing tasks essential to every cell. Some transport molecules, some build structures, some regulate the flow of energy. You see these molecules moving with silent precision, as if following the choreography written in the letters above them. The DNA is both the composer and the score, instructing without force, suggesting without urgency. A tiny shift occurs in one sequence, a mutation, a single letter changed. It barely disrupts the rhythm, yet you notice it, a gentle reminder that variation is natural and sometimes necessary. Some changes will ripple outward, subtly affecting function or form. Others will go unnoticed, fading into the background of countless interactions. You understand that life thrives in this delicate tension between stability and transformation, and you feel comforted by the quiet intelligence of this balance. Your attention turns to the process of transcription. DNA's instructions are copied into RNA, a temporary mirror, which will guide the assembly of a new protein. You imagine the letters translating into a new form, flowing from abstract code into physical reality. The process is fluid and rhythmic, like a river gliding through a forest, purposeful yet serene. You feel a sense of intimacy, as if you are witnessing a secret conversation happening inside your own body, a gentle dialogue that sustains you every moment. Each gene you pass holds a story. Some code for enzymes, molecules that accelerate life's chemical reactions. Others shape the structure of your muscles, your nerves, your skin. You sense the poetry in these instructions, how a simple string of letters can generate so much complexity. You marvel at the economy of the system, for letters creating endless possibilities, tiny sequences giving rise to forms and functions beyond imagination. You notice how cells protect this precious code. Specialized proteins wrap around the DNA like guardians, shielding it from harm. Yet nature allows for flexibility. DNA can bend, coil, and even unwind as needed, accommodating the demands of growth and repair. You feel a quiet resonance with this adaptability, recognizing the gentle interplay between preservation and change, between stillness and movement, that echoes within yourself. Drifting further, you contemplate the vastness contained in these spirals. Trillions of nucleotides, arranged with exquisite care, all working together to maintain life. You sense the elegance in the repetition, the subtle patterns that emerge when sequences recur. Some sequences lie silent, dormant like quiet notes in a melody. Others awaken at just the right time, expressing themselves in waves of activity, guiding the formation of structures and the flow of energy. Life is a balance between potential and action, and you feel at ease with this measured rhythm. You watch as a ribosome reads the RNA, assembling amino acids into a protein. The letters of DNA have become action, form, function. Each protein folds into its designated shape, like origami crafted with care, each movement purposeful and deliberate. You feel the calm satisfaction of order emerging from abstraction, the gentle elegance of chemistry orchestrating life's machinery. There is no rush here, only the patient unfolding of instructions into reality. Every fold, every bond, every reaction seems imbued with quiet meaning. You sense how intimately connected you are to these molecular processes. Each heartbeat, each breath, each thought is made possible by this invisible language, a conversation written in spirals and letters, performed in silence. You feel a deep alignment with the continuity of life, a soft awareness of being part of a story that began long before you and will continue long after. As the chapter of this spiral unfolds, you recognize DNA as memory, a record of ancestors, of survival, of adaptation. Each sequence carries hints of journeys taken, environments faced, and life lived quietly through time. You feel a soft reverence for this legacy, a calm gratitude for the code that sustains you, that allows you to exist in this moment. The letters repeat, forming motifs and patterns, creating proteins that build, regulate, and protect. You imagine the interplay of these proteins, moving like dancers in a slow, deliberate performance. The choreography is seamless, coordinated, beautiful. You rest in the awareness that life is orchestrated in harmony, that even in complexity, there is balance and rhythm. Finally, you sense the connection of this internal language to the wider world. DNA responds to signals, to energy, to environmental cues, tuning the expression of proteins, adjusting the flow of life within each cell. You imagine your body as part of a larger symphony, connected to the cycles of nature, to the rhythms of the world beyond your skin. The code inside you is alive, listening, adapting, responding, a soft dialogue with the universe itself. You settle into the gentle patterns of these spirals, letting the quiet beauty of the genetic code fill your mind. Life's alphabet, though minimal, is infinitely expressive. You carry the memory of this intricate language with you, ready to drift toward the next chapter. The way these proteins, guided by DNA, orchestrate the vast and delicate systems that sustain your body and connect you to the flow of life around you. You begin your journey inside the quiet nucleus of a cell, a space no larger than a speck of dust, yet containing instructions older than you can imagine. Here, DNA coils gently, spiraling in delicate ribbons of blue and silver. It is not static. It hums softly with potential, vibrating with the promise of life yet to emerge. You feel yourself shrinking, slipping closer, until you can witness the twists and turns of the genetic alphabet. T, C, and G, dancing in pairs, each one a letter in a story that has been unfolding for billions of years. As you drift closer, you notice tiny openings along the strands of DNA, portals where the instructions are read. Enzymes move like gentle, patient scribes, copying sequences into messages that will leave this sanctuary. You follow one of these messages, an RNA strand, as it curls and slides toward the outer boundary of the nucleus. It is a small traveler carrying enormous responsibility, a whisper of code that will soon become something tangible. The RNA emerges into the cytoplasm, the wider space of the cell, which feels like a calm ocean teeming with life. Proteins, long chains of amino acids, drift along currents invisible to the eye but perceptible to your mind. You sense their motion as purposeful, deliberate, yet effortless, a choreography that has been refined over countless generations. Each protein knows its role. Some carry messages, others build structures, some catalyze reactions, and others simply wait, ready to respond when called. You focus on a ribosome, a tiny molecular workshop, where the RNA message is carefully read and translated. It is as if a composer has handed the ribosome a sheet of music, and here the performance begins. One by one, amino acids are brought into place, linked together in perfect sequence. You feel the rhythm of this assembly, a pulse that echoes through the cell like a heartbeat, quiet yet insistent. The emerging protein coils and folds, forming shapes that are as precise as they are beautiful, each fold a note in a symphony of form and function. Watching closely, you notice how some proteins float freely, while others find scaffolds, membranes, or molecular partners. Some carry out reactions that release tiny sparks of energy, almost like fireflies blinking in synchrony. You sense the subtle interactions, the soft whispers of molecular conversations, and realize that every gesture, every chemical handshake, is part of a larger story, the story of life made visible. Proteins begin their journey beyond the ribosome, moving to specific locations in the cell. Some enter membranes, creating channels and gates that control the flow of ions and molecules. Others travel to the mitochondria, the cell's power stations, to assist in releasing energy from the food you have eaten. You float alongside them, feeling the gentle push and pull of forces, the subtle nudges that guide these tiny travelers to their destinations. It is as if the cell itself is a city, each protein a citizen knowing exactly where it must go. You notice that some proteins act like caretakers, repairing structures, removing waste, or signaling when something is amiss. Others take on structural roles, forming filaments and scaffolds that give the cell shape and resilience. You begin to see that form and function are inseparable, that the body's gestures, from the blink of an eye to the curl of a finger, are rooted in this molecular ballet. You sense a deep, unspoken poetry in these movements, a rhythm that is both precise and gentle, commanding and serene. Your attention shifts to the signaling molecules, tiny messengers that drift between cells. They carry instructions that influence behavior far beyond their origin. You feel their calm journey across membranes and through fluid spaces, like letters traveling along invisible rivers. Each message triggers responses, activating proteins, opening channels, or initiating cascades of events. The effects are subtle, yet cumulatively profound, shaping tissues, organs, and eventually, the coordinated gestures of the whole body. As you continue to drift through this microscopic landscape, you realize that every movement of the body, no matter how small, is a manifestation of these genetic instructions. The curling of a hand, the rise of a breath, even the thought forming in your mind, each is choreographed at the molecular level. You feel a sense of wonder at how invisible codes translate into visible life, how instructions written in chemical letters give rise to sensation, motion, and perception. You sense the passing of time differently here. Processes that seem instantaneous in your daily life unfold slowly, deliberately, allowing you to witness the unfolding of creation itself. You notice minor variations, slight changes in folding patterns, momentary pauses in assembly, and you understand that even these subtle differences are essential. They introduce flexibility, adaptation, and, occasionally, innovation. Life is never rigid. It thrives in balance between fidelity and change. Proteins assemble into complexes, forming machines that perform remarkable feats. You watch one machine slide along a filament, carrying cargo from one end of the cell to the other, moving with grace and purpose. Another captures energy, transforms it, and releases it in controlled bursts, fueling the quiet activities that sustain life. You feel these processes as vibrations, gentle and continuous, like waves lapping against a shore that never erodes. Each action, each motion, is guided by the silent wisdom encoded in DNA, yet expressed in the freedom of movement. Your journey takes you beyond the single cell. You float alongside other cells, observing how they communicate and coordinate. You notice that tissues emerge as communities of cells, each performing specialized roles, yet harmonizing in a grander design. Muscle fibers contract with the guidance of proteins, neurons fire electrical signals orchestrated by molecular channels, and enzymes regulate chemical balances. You perceive a remarkable unity, a conversation between scales, from the microscopic to the visible, that produces the gestures you recognize as human movement. You linger near the synapses of a neuron, where proteins guide the release of neurotransmitters. These chemical messengers cross tiny gaps, transmitting information that will trigger thought, sensation, and motion. You sense the exquisite timing, the precise choreography required to convey a single signal. Every flicker of energy, every shift in a protein's shape, contributes to the orchestration of perception and response. You realize that your very awareness is inseparable from the choreography of molecules, that consciousness itself is a gentle echo of this intricate ballet. As the cellular symphony continues, you notice cycles, rhythms that repeat, pulses that sustain life. Proteins degrade and are replaced, membranes renew themselves, and genetic messages are continuously read, transcribed, and translated. You feel a sense of continuity, a quiet reassurance that life is self-sustaining, resilient, and adaptive. Every gesture of the body, every heartbeat, is a reflection of these ongoing processes, a visible manifestation of invisible codes that have been refined over eons. You drift back, feeling the vastness within the smallness, the intimacy of life encoded in molecules that work silently, harmoniously, endlessly. You carry a soft awareness of the link between the microscopic and the tangible, between instruction and expression. Your body is both a vessel and a performance, each gesture a note in a composition written by evolution and executed by the subtlety of chemistry. In this quiet meditation, you sense the infinite patience of life, the tender unfolding of instructions into action, and the gentle inevitability of growth and expression. And as you prepare to leave this inner world, you notice a thought forming. If every gesture arises from these hidden instructions, what new movements, new forms, and new expressions might emerge tomorrow? You drift quietly through the soft, unseen world inside your body, where life unfolds on a scale so small it almost escapes perception. Here, cells are not just units of biology. They are dancers, swaying to a rhythm older than the mountains and seas. Their music is subtle, a pulse of chemistry and light, and you follow it gently, your mind attuned to the harmony of molecules moving in unison. A single cell waits, its surface shimmering in anticipation. You notice the faint glow of its nucleus, like a lantern in a hushed forest. Inside, threads of DNA are coiled tightly, spirals of information wrapped around themselves in perfect order. This is the blueprint of you, the map of every whisper and heartbeat, every gesture and thought. Slowly, the strands begin to unwind. You watch, mesmerized, as the double helix unzips, like the soft opening of a flower at dawn. Each nucleotide, the A's, T's, C's, and G's, lines up precisely, searching for its complementary partner. Adenine finds thymine, cytosine finds guanine. It is a delicate choreography, repeated trillions of times in your body, each motion essential, each pairing a quiet promise of continuity. As the helix splits, tiny enzymes glide along its curves, like dancers on a stage. Helicase moves first, gently parting the strands, a soft wave of motion that opens the space for replication. Behind it, polymerase follows, weaving new threads with patient care. You imagine its movements as strokes of a brush, painting the canvas of life with precision and grace. You linger near a replication fork, observing the formation of two new strands. Each nucleotide clicks into place with a soft, inaudible rhythm. There is a poetry here, an elegance that is almost hypnotic. You feel the quiet weight of responsibility these molecules carry. They are guardians of continuity, repeating patterns that have persisted since the first cells emerged billions of years ago. Occasionally, a small mistake appears, a mispaired base or a skipped step. It is subtle, almost invisible, but you notice. And yet, the cell does not panic. Proofreading enzymes sweep along the strands, correcting errors with gentle efficiency. Even mistakes have a place in this dance. They are small variations, whispers of possibility that may ripple outward, shaping new forms and adaptations in the future. You float alongside these molecular dancers, sensing the pulse of creation in every turn of the helix. The strands separate, and new ones grow in their place, like reflections mirrored perfectly across a calm lake. It is an endless rhythm, a quiet echo of life's persistence. You feel a calm certainty here, a soft reassurance that even in the tiniest movements, there is continuity, a continuity that links you to all living things. Time seems to slow. You notice the intricate loops and coils, the way histones cradle the DNA gently, keeping it organized and protected. Chromatin fibers fold and unfold with careful precision, a folding language that encodes centuries of evolution. You sense the gentle inevitability in these motions, the quiet trust that the cell has in its own ability to preserve and propagate life. The cytoplasm around you hums with energy. Ribosomes float lazily, ready to translate instructions when the moment comes. Mitochondria pulse with steady rhythm, providing the power that fuels every movement. You feel immersed in a living orchestra, each instrument attentive, each note purposeful. Even the tiniest molecules contribute to the performance, moving with intention, invisible but essential. You notice the cell preparing its checkpoints, pauses where it inspects itself. Like a dancer adjusting posture in mid-performance, the cell ensures everything is aligned. The DNA is flawless, the machinery ready. And then, with gentle inevitability, the final act begins. The cell elongates, splitting its contents evenly, a quiet division that mirrors the larger cycles of life. Two cells emerge where there was one, a soft doubling that carries forward all the instructions, all the quiet history of the organism. You linger in this transformation, watching the two new cells settle into their roles. The original rhythms continue, unbroken, each pulse a reaffirmation that life persists. You sense a calm reassurance in this repetition, a soothing knowledge that patterns endure, quietly, gently, across space and time. Every division is both ending and beginning, a circle drawn slowly, with patience and care. As you drift away, your attention rests on the beauty of imperfection. Small variations, though rare, exist to remind you that life is not about rigidity but about adaptation. The dance of replication is forgiving, yet disciplined, a balance that allows both precision and possibility. You feel the resonance of this dance echo within yourself, a soft reminder that growth is a gentle unfolding, guided but never forced. You leave the cell gently, as if stepping out of a quiet theater. The whispers of DNA and the gentle hum of cellular machinery linger in your mind, a lullaby for your awareness. You carry with you the memory of careful motion, the poetry of uncoiling strands, the assurance of cycles that repeat without end. And as you drift further, your thoughts linger on the journey ahead, the orchestration of life extending beyond a single cell. How do these threads, these tiny dances, come together to shape the rhythms of an entire organism? You feel the quiet anticipation of the next chapter, a gentle curiosity that guides your mind forward, as inexorable and calming as the next breath. You drift gently into the microscopic world, where life whispers in sequences of letters T, C, and G. These four symbols, seemingly simple, carry instructions that have been fine-tuned over billions of years. Within this delicate alphabet, every word, every sentence, guides the flow of life. And yet, even in such precision, there is room for imperfection. Here, in this quiet theater of molecules, the story of mutation unfolds. A mutation is subtle. It might be as slight as a single letter swapped, a tiny punctuation change in the vast manuscript of DNA. You imagine a long ribbon of code stretching before you, twisting in graceful spirals, and notice a small flicker, an unexpected mark, a soft deviation. It seems almost insignificant at first, but you sense its potential. Some changes vanish unnoticed, like whispers fading in a quiet room. Others linger, shifting the rhythm of the sequence ever so slightly. You watch as a single nucleotide, the smallest component of this code, mutates, Perhaps an A becomes AG or ATAC. To the naked eye, nothing seems different. Yet, within the cell, this tiny change can alter the construction of a protein, subtly reshaping the way it folds or interacts with its neighbors. The cell hums along, largely unaware of the shift, yet life itself is learning, adapting, responding. Each mutation is nature's gentle experiment, an invisible brushstroke on the canvas of existence. Some mutations are quiet artisans. They do not disturb the harmony. They merely whisper a new accent into the ongoing symphony of life. You float beside a developing embryo, noticing how these gentle variations contribute to individuality. Perhaps a flower tilts slightly differently toward the sun, or a bird's song carries a unique cadence. These differences, so small, accumulate across generations. You feel the rhythm of time stretching slowly, watching the soft layering of change. Others are bolder. Occasionally, a mutation reshapes not only a protein but the pathway of life itself. You envision a population of creatures across rolling landscapes, each carrying its subtle deviations. A single mutation may allow one individual to better digest a new kind of leaf, or see a faint glimmer of light in a dense forest. Slowly, over generations, this advantage spreads. You sense evolution not as a sudden upheaval but as a patient, deliberate unfolding. The changes ripple outward, a gentle tide shaping the shore of life itself. Mutations are not mistakes, they are possibilities. You see them as playful experiments within the body's meticulous machinery. They are small nudges toward novelty, gentle provocations that keep life curious and resilient. In this space, you sense that imperfection is not weakness. It is the birthplace of diversity. The differences between you and the person sitting quietly beside you, the variations among leaves in a forest, even the subtle quirks in the song of a whale, all of it carries the signature of mutation. You notice how cells repair themselves with astonishing care, yet leave room for change. DNA polymerases copy strands with remarkable fidelity, correcting most errors, but never all. Some slips escape detection, allowed to persist. Nature seems to favor balance, guiding life with both precision and freedom. You rest in the thought that this balance is intentional, a delicate invitation to wonder at the unexpected. Picture a population of bacteria, each dividing quietly under a microscope. Tiny mutations arise at random, like flecks of color on a pale canvas. Some prove insignificant, others provide subtle advantages. The bacteria multiply, carrying these small changes forward. In the slow passage of time, these shifts shape entire lineages. You imagine this as a gentle story, written across the invisible generations, where each character, every organism, is both student and author of its evolving narrative. Mutations also reveal life's resilience. You watch a plant facing harsh sunlight or scarce water. One leaf has a slight genetic difference, granting it a marginal edge. It survives where others falter, and slowly, that difference spreads through the population. You feel the quiet poetry in this persistence. Life bending, stretching, adjusting, yet never losing its rhythm. Each mutation, each variation, contributes to the enduring melody of survival. Sometimes a mutation is neutral. You see a change in a protein that neither helps nor hinders, yet still it persists, carried forward quietly. You sense that even neutrality is part of life's meditation, a reminder that not every change demands recognition or reward. Life accommodates subtlety, allowing small brushstrokes to coexist with sweeping transformations. The accumulation of these minor alterations produces landscapes of incredible variety, species, forms, and behaviors that delight in their diversity. You float through these molecular threads, feeling the soft pulse of time. Mutations are nature's dialogue with itself, a conversation without words, a music without notes. You sense how tiny shifts, imperceptible individually, compose symphonies over millennia. From a single-celled ancestor to the richness of life around you, each mutation is a quiet storyteller, shaping paths that no eye can fully trace. Even mistakes, the changes that might seem harmful, carry lessons. You observe the repair mechanisms kicking in, the cell adjusting, the organism adapting. Life is both fragile and tenacious. The imperfections you notice are invitations to marvel at the ingenuity of natural systems, and to rest in the understanding that evolution is neither hurried nor chaotic. It is deliberate, patient, and profoundly creative. In your mind's eye, you see a garden of possibilities. Every leaf, every feather, every strand of hair is a testament to countless subtle shifts, a mosaic painted over eons. Mutations are nature's subtle brushstrokes, sometimes nearly invisible, sometimes bold and defining. And yet, in all cases, they create beauty, resilience, and depth. You sense that you, too, carry these quiet stories within you. Small differences inherited, shaped, and carried forward in your own unfolding life. As you drift slowly, a soft sense of wonder lingers. You understand that imperfection is natural, variation is essential, and change is gentle yet unstoppable. The microscopic world continues its quiet experiments, while the macroscopic world blooms in response. Each ripple of mutation carries the promise of discovery, adaptation, and the serene persistence of life. And so, you float, quietly observing, knowing that the tiny brushstrokes of change will continue, ever shaping the story of life, carrying you gently toward the next chapter of evolution's unfolding mysteries. You step softly into a space that seems both familiar and mysterious, a landscape built not of mountains or rivers, but of patterns, signals, and invisible instructions. Here, the DNA you have met before, the double helix, the twisting ladder of 4 letters, feels almost like the stage upon which a subtler story unfolds. This story is about whispers, delicate, fleeting, yet profoundly influential. These are the whispers of epigenetics, the gentle conductors who decide which parts of the genome play their music and which remain silent. As you move along this quiet stage, you notice that the genes are not all equal in their presence. Some rest, coiled tightly like soft ribbons, while others stretch openly, ready to perform. Marks, tiny chemical tags, settle lightly on the strands, like dew on morning leaves. These tags do not change the letters themselves, the underlying sequence, but they alter how the sequence is read. You imagine a subtle finger pointing to certain sections, inviting them to awaken, to produce proteins, to shape form and function. You watch a particular gene that might someday guide the color of your eyes or the strength of your bones. The tags settle differently depending on whispers carried from the outside world: sunlight, temperature, diet, and gentle experiences. You realize that life is both script and improvisation. DNA provides the score, the fixed melody, but epigenetics conducts the rhythm, volume, and emphasis. The music you hear is never identical to that of another. Each performance is unique, nuanced by the quiet influences of environment and history. A soft light appears, and with it you see the dance of methyl groups attaching themselves to cytosine, one of the 4 letters in the code. This tiny chemical shift can silence a gene, folding it into a resting position. A gentle acetylation occurs elsewhere, loosening the tightly wound histones and inviting transcription to begin. These are not random acts. They are messages, reminders, and responses, echoing through cells like whispered conversations in a library where every book remembers what has happened. You imagine your body as a grand symphony, each cell a musician responding to the cues of its epigenetic conductor. The lungs breathe, the heart beats, neurons fire, and muscles contract, not only because DNA dictated it billions of years ago, but also because epigenetic marks whisper encouragement or restraint. The harmony is subtle, fragile, and beautiful. The quiet shaping of expression ensures that growth is adaptive, responsive to need and circumstance. Even small gestures, nourishment, rest, gentle stress, leave impressions on the score, like the brush of a hand on a piano key. Drifting further, you see the passage of time reflected in the accumulation of these whispers. Childhood experiences leave their traces, shaping not only the mind but also the body at the molecular level. Environmental touches, warmth, nutrition, light, and sound, write soft scripts that guide development. You notice how chronic stress might leave heavier marks, gently constraining expression, while joy and care lay down lighter, more harmonious notations. The interplay feels like a conversation between your surroundings and your internal self, a dialogue stretching across years, even generations. You pause to consider memory, not only the kind stored in your thoughts but the kind that rests quietly in your cells. Epigenetic marks carry lessons forward, hints of what has come before. You envision a grandmother's experiences influencing the health of her grandchildren, her quiet cellular history gently echoing in their development. It is not fate, not a rigid chain, but a responsive memory, an ongoing adaptation to life's subtle rhythms. Here, inheritance is alive, fluid, more poetic than mechanical. The scene shifts to the interior of a cell. You float beside the nucleus, surrounded by chromatin that coils and uncoils like a living tapestry. Signals arrive from outside, hormones, nutrients, light, softly nudging certain regions to open or close. You watch a gene that could produce an enzyme, now unwrapped by acetylation, transcribed, and translated into a tiny protein that will fulfill its role. You sense the quiet wonder, a microcosm of responsiveness, where the instructions of life meet the whispers of experience. The genome is not alone. It is a partner in conversation, listening and reacting to the body, the environment, and the passing moments of time. You notice a gentle paradox. While DNA feels permanent, epigenetics is fluid. Marks can fade, shift, or intensify depending on context. You imagine how diet, exercise, sleep, and even the quality of relationships could tune the expression of your genes. The science is real, yet the metaphor feels natural. Your life, your choices, your surroundings, all participate in the quiet composition of who you are. The stability of the code and the adaptability of its expression create a balance, one that is both reassuring and full of possibility. A light breeze of reflection moves through your mind. You see epigenetics not as a command, but as a gentle, guiding hand, reminding you that biology is conversation, not decree. The genome sets the potential, but the environment, the cells, and your lived experience are co-authors. Each moment, each gentle influence, contributes to an evolving narrative that cannot be entirely predicted, yet can be appreciated for its beauty. You sense a freedom here, a quiet agency woven into the fabric of existence, reminding you that life's story is as much felt as it is coded. You linger on the thought of balance. The genome is steadfast, like an ancient tree, rooted and strong, while epigenetic whispers are the wind, bending and shaping the branches without breaking them. Your body, your mind, your experiences, all are part of this dynamic, responsive garden. It is a choreography of resilience and responsiveness, where small touches ripple softly through structure and function. The music plays on, each note a tiny miracle of biology, orchestrated by signals both visible and unseen. As your awareness expands, you drift toward a reflective quiet. You imagine the implications beyond your own cells, for communities, ecosystems, and generations yet to come. Each influence, however subtle, can cascade into changes that shape the future, leaving echoes of the present within the biology of others. Epigenetics feels like a meditation on connectivity, a reminder that life is not just a sequence of instructions, but a conversation carried across time and space. And as you begin to withdraw from this microscopic symphony, the images of marks, signals, and responsive genes linger in your mind. You carry the sense of epigenetics as a gentle guide, a whisper that life's code is both fixed and fluid, a dialogue between what is inherited and what is experienced. The music softens, and your thoughts drift naturally toward the next wonder. The invisible hands that govern aging, adaptation, and the graceful unfolding of life across the years. You close your eyes and allow your mind to drift inward, sinking gently into a quiet world beneath awareness. Here, strands of DNA lie coiled like delicate ribbons, each twist holding the memory of generations. You sense a rhythm, a subtle pulse that seems to echo from the earliest lives of your ancestors. It is soft, unhurried, like sunlight brushing across water at dawn. As you follow the spirals, you notice the nucleotides, the As, TS, CS, and GS, aligning in sequences that carry stories. Each sequence is a whisper, a note in the vast symphony of life. You imagine sliding along the strands, gliding past the tiny molecules that shaped countless choices and experiences. The molecules hum faintly, their vibrations tracing paths from the past into your present awareness. You begin to see your ancestors as faint shapes in the distance, moving through forests, along rivers, across open plains. You sense the weight of their journeys, the hunger and hope that guided each step. Each survival, each adaptation, is recorded here, not in stone, but in the invisible code that flows through you. You feel the quiet perseverance that allowed them to continue, to leave traces that would ripple through time. The strands reveal subtle changes, mutations that arose quietly, sometimes fading, sometimes enduring. You recognize these as soft marks of evolution, reminders that life thrives not through perfection but through gentle variation. Some alterations brought survival, others resilience, and a few, perhaps, a spark of novelty that shaped the generations to come. You rest in the thought that these tiny shifts carry the wisdom of time, folded delicately into your being. Migration appears next, a river of movement stretching across continents. You sense your ancestors crossing mountains, following the sun, tracing the patterns of rivers and winds. Each journey left imprints, tiny alterations in the code that allowed survival in new climates and conditions. These traces are invisible to the eye, yet you feel them as part of yourself, as a quiet echo of paths taken long ago. You linger on the interplay of choice and chance. The survival of your line depended on small decisions, on moments of luck, on the guidance of instinct and intuition. Life, you realize, is not linear but a web, each thread intertwining with countless others. The genetic code records this web, carrying echoes of triumphs and mistakes alike, folding them into the strands that now compose your own body and mind. As you drift deeper, you notice connections to distant relatives, to traits that appear as gestures, tendencies, or rhythms in thought. They are not coincidences, but whispers of shared lineage. The spirals hum with continuity, affirming that you are part of a greater whole. The soft realization settles that individuality exists alongside collective history, each unique voice rising gently from the chorus of ancestry. The environment's touch becomes clear. The food your ancestors ate, the climates they endured, the stresses they navigated, all have left faint marks on gene expression. These epigenetic whispers are like footprints in sand, visible only to those who know how to read them. You feel that life is a dialogue between code and context, between what is inherited and what is experienced, a conversation that flows gently into your present. You trace the strands further, imagining the countless organisms that coexisted with your ancestors, the plants that nourished them, the animals that shared their paths, the microbes that shaped their health. Life's network stretches out in every direction, each interaction leaving traces that ripple forward. You sense that survival was never solitary, but part of a larger symphony of connections, rhythms, and relationships. Your breath slows as you consider the lessons carried forward. Resilience, adaptation, and continuity. You feel gratitude for this invisible architecture, for the careful choreography of genes and experiences that allowed you to exist here and now. Time feels less like a line and more like a fabric, woven from threads of life stretching backward and forward, encompassing everything yet intimate in its presence. Softly, you sense the whispers of potential. The code is not only a record of the past but also a map of what might come. Each sequence suggests choices yet to be made, possibilities yet to unfold. You feel the river of ancestry extend forward, flowing into the lives that will follow, carrying with it echoes of hope, learning, and the quiet insistence of life to continue. You rest in this understanding, allowing it to wash over you. The lineage of your being feels expansive yet gentle, connecting you to the past, to the present, and to what will emerge. You sense that each breath, each moment of awareness, is part of this continuum, a thread joining countless others in the eternal flow of life. And as your awareness begins to settle, you feel the river of ancestry stretch onward, carrying whispers that invite exploration, reflection, and the unfolding of life yet to come. You pause at the threshold of a world too small to see, yet vast beyond imagination. Within you, and all around you, billions of unseen companions move in rhythms older than humanity itself. These are your microbiomes, communities of bacteria, fungi, viruses, and tiny creatures whose lives entwine quietly with your own. They are neither intruders nor strangers. They are neighbors, colleagues, and sometimes even teachers. You realize that life is never solitary. Even the smallest microbe carries a role, a purpose, a story, and together, they form a subtle chorus that hums along with the beat of your own body. As you inhale, you sense them, not literally with your senses, but as an intuition, a whisper of awareness. They inhabit your gut, your skin, your mouth, your lungs, even your brain. Each niche has its own community, its own ecosystem, yet all are bound by a mutual rhythm. Some microbes ferment the fibers you cannot digest, transforming them into nutrients that feed you. Others patrol your surfaces, quietly defending your territory against unseen invaders. They whisper in chemical languages, signaling one another with molecules that drift like tiny notes in an invisible symphony. Their voices are silent yet essential. They shape your health, your mood, your very sense of self. In this gentle exploration, you notice the connection between these tiny lives and the language of your DNA. Microbes do not read your genes as you might read a book, but they influence which genes are expressed, which proteins are created, and how your body responds to the environment. Like co-authors in a manuscript, they add annotations, gentle nudges, subtle suggestions. You feel a quiet reverence for this collaboration. A conversation written not in words, but in molecules, signals, and time-tested rhythms. Consider your digestion. You eat a piece of bread, a handful of berries, or a simple sip of tea. These are acts that feel solitary, intimate, private. Yet as the food moves through you, microbes awaken. They ferment, they break down, they release vitamins and short-chain fatty acids that your own cells cannot produce alone. Your gut lining senses them, responding with waves of neurotransmitters that reach your brain. It is not a one-way street. This is a dialogue, an ongoing negotiation that balances nutrition, comfort, and defense. You feel the rhythm of this partnership as if your body were an orchestra, and your microbiomes the soft string section, subtle but indispensable. Your immunity, too, is shaped by this hidden world. Cells patrol your bloodstream, seeking intruders, learning who belongs and who does not. Microbes train them, teaching them tolerance and vigilance. Without these microbial teachers, your defenses might falter or misfire. The realization hums softly. Life within you educates life within you. You are both host and student, protector and participant, in a delicate dance that has endured for eons. Each microbe has a role, a lesson, a gentle hand in guiding your resilience. Even your mood carries their imprint. Chemicals produced in your gut travel along the vagus nerve, reaching your brain in subtle pulses. Serotonin, dopamine, and other messengers shift and shimmer in response to the microbiome's activity. You feel this as calm, as a quiet awareness, or as energy pulsing gently in your chest. It is astonishing to think that tiny beings, invisible to your eye, can affect thought, emotion, and perception. You smile quietly, sensing that you are never entirely alone. The world is not just in your body. Your body is part of the world. There is an artistry here, a design so intricate that it feels intentional even without conscious intent. Microbes and humans evolve together, shaping one another in a slow and patient dialogue that spans millennia. The patterns emerge if you look closely. Diversity begets stability, balance fosters resilience, and small changes ripple outward in waves that touch everything. You sense that each meal, each breath, each gentle movement is an act of communion with these invisible companions. You are, in essence, a shared habitat, a living ecosystem, an ongoing experiment in collaboration. You notice how modern life sometimes disrupts this harmony. Antibiotics, processed foods, stress, and environmental shifts can disturb the microbial balance, and the consequences ripple silently through your body and mind. But even here, there is hope. Communities recover, resilience emerges, and small, consistent choices, diverse foods, quiet time in nature, mindful awareness, support the flourishing of life within you. You feel a sense of responsibility, not as a burden, but as a tender stewardship. To nurture your microbes is to nurture yourself, to honor the delicate web of life that connects you to the invisible world. Imagine the microbes on your skin, forming protective layers, sending signals that soothe irritation, modulate inflammation, and even guide healing. They are your first line of dialogue with the external environment, interpreting sunlight, touch, and air into chemical whispers your body can read. You sense a reciprocity. You provide nutrients and shelter. They provide insight, defense, and communication. Life is a conversation, not a monologue. You are a host, yes, but also a participant, a listener, and a co-creator. As you drift further into reflection, you see the interconnectedness extending beyond yourself. Your microbiome is influenced by the people you encounter, the places you inhabit, the foods you share. A handshake, a hug, a shared meal. These are not merely social gestures. They are microscopic exchanges of life. You feel a quiet wonder at the intimacy of this hidden world, the ways it knits individuals into communities and communities into ecosystems. Every connection carries potential, every interaction a whisper of change. In this chapter of awareness, you are invited to soften your gaze, to feel the subtle currents of life beneath and around your skin. Your body is not merely a vessel. It is a garden, a forest, a city inhabited by countless collaborators. Each microbe plays a part, each chemical signal a note in a symphony that has been performing long before your consciousness arrived. You rest in the knowledge that you are held, supported, and guided in ways both seen and unseen. You realize that this is just one layer of the intricate network that life weaves. Just as your microbiome partners with your DNA, your body interacts with the environment, your mind with your memories, and your heart with the rhythms of the world outside. The connections are infinite, delicate, and beautiful. And in this gentle web, you find a comfort that transcends solitude. You are never truly alone, for life itself flows through and around you, whispering continuity, resilience, and quiet wonder. You step quietly into the microcosm of life, where DNA's instructions bloom into the three-dimensional wonders known as proteins. These structures are more than molecules. They are miniature performances, each curve and fold a gesture of purpose. You watch as a chain of amino acids, initially linear and unassuming, begins to twist, looping upon itself, responding to invisible forces with astonishing precision. It is as if the tiniest currents in the cellular sea guide the protein through a graceful choreography only it can sense. You imagine the energy that hums through these molecular dancers, not violent or harsh, but gentle, rhythmic, like the soft pulse of your own heartbeat. Each fold is deliberate, a subtle negotiation between chemical bonds and environmental cues. In this quiet observation, you realize that proteins are not static. They are alive in their motion, dynamic in their existence. You sense the delicate tension between order and spontaneity, where a single misstep could change function, yet the system is resilient enough to allow for minor deviations, learning and adapting quietly without notice. Some proteins glide purposefully, carrying vital cargo. Hemoglobin, for instance, ferries oxygen molecules through the bloodstream with a patient grace, opening and closing its binding sites in a dance of molecular devotion. You float alongside it, sensing the rise and fall of oxygen levels, the subtle shifts in conformation that enable life to breathe. Transport is not hurried. It is deliberate, precise, a soft testament to efficiency without urgency. The protein's movements feel like a carefully composed poem, each stanza written in bonds and twists, each line unfolding with intention. Other proteins serve as vigilant guardians. Enzymes and antibodies patrol the microscopic streets, scanning for threats and repairing small breaches. They respond with fluidity and focus, never clumsy, never wasted. Watching them, you feel a quiet reassurance, a gentle understanding that even at this minuscule scale, life organizes itself with elegance and foresight. Each encounter is fleeting yet meaningful, a whispered conversation between molecular structures and their environment. You notice how every interaction, every bond formed or broken, contributes to a larger symphony of survival, a delicate balance maintained in silence. Proteins also interact with each other in ways that seem almost artistic. Temporary complexes form, fleeting but critical, like partnerships in a dance troupe. You see how the timing of these interactions matters, how precise alignment allows functions to be executed seamlessly. They fold into one another, adjust, release, and move on. A fluid choreography that sustains the rhythm of life. You imagine the cell as a theater, each protein an actor aware of its cues, performing tirelessly with both independence and harmony. Even mistakes are part of the story. Sometimes a protein misfolds, a twist is out of place, a bond forms where it should not. Yet this imperfection is not catastrophic. The cell adapts, repairs, or replaces the faulty structures, maintaining resilience without drama. You reflect on the beauty of imperfection, the way life embraces small variations and transforms them into opportunities for adaptation. There is a soft poetry in this resilience, a lesson whispered in the language of chemistry and geometry. You notice the enzymes, those remarkable catalysts, accelerating reactions with effortless grace. They lower barriers, facilitating transformations that would otherwise take impossibly long. Watching them, you sense a quiet intelligence embedded in the folds of these molecules, an artfulness that turns complexity into fluidity. Reactions occur as if by choreography, products appearing at the precise moment they are needed. Nothing rushed, nothing wasted. The cellular theater hums with these subtle motions, and you drift, mesmerized, as if watching a symphony where each note is a chemical bond, each movement a gesture of invisible hands. There are moments when proteins almost appear to communicate, their shapes shifting in response to distant signals, forming networks of influence that ripple silently through the cell. You perceive the beauty in this subtle messaging, the invisible threads of connection that knit together form and function. Proteins are storytellers and listeners simultaneously, translating the genetic code into action, translating environmental cues into movement. You sense a quiet intimacy, a closeness to the fundamental rhythm of life, as though the cell itself is breathing alongside you. As you linger in this microcosm, you feel a profound awe at the artistry present in the smallest structures. Proteins embody elegance and purpose, precision and flexibility, a synthesis of the practical and the poetic. They teach you that complexity need not be chaotic, that function can be gentle, that even the tiniest forms of life carry within them a story of meticulous care and quiet beauty. You rest in this understanding, sensing the seamless integration of these molecular dancers into the vast, orchestrated performance that is life. And as your attention begins to drift, you realize that proteins are only one chapter in this story, a single movement in the endless symphony of living systems. Beyond their folds and interactions, other patterns await your gaze. Messages written in chemical signals, rhythms of division and growth, whispers of adaptation that stretch across generations. The poetry of proteins is a beginning, a gentle invitation to explore the broader artistry that orchestrates life itself. You begin by closing your eyes and imagining the vast tapestry of life, each thread woven over countless generations. Time is slow here, stretching in gentle undulations across millions of years. It is a rhythm not measured by clocks or calendars, but by subtle shifts, quiet mutations, and the persistent whisper of survival. You sense that life itself is patient, moving in soft waves, rather than sudden bursts. DNA, the delicate script of life, unfolds before your mind like a spiral staircase, each rung a tiny instruction, each turn a possibility. You float along these spirals, noticing how small changes accumulate slowly, almost imperceptibly. Some alterations fade like a whispered secret lost in the wind, while others ripple forward, shaping the forms and habits of creatures yet to be born. You feel awe at this patient artistry, the subtlety of a process that sculpts the world without haste or force. You drift through landscapes that shift across eons. Ancient oceans stretch wide, their surfaces reflecting the light of a sun you have not yet named. Tiny organisms drift within these waters, each one a shimmering, self-contained world of potential. You observe their movements, the gentle adjustments of shape and function, and you sense that even the smallest creature carries the quiet wisdom of survival. Evolution does not shout. It whispers. You rest in the calm understanding that these changes are not chaotic but deeply ordered, guided by the quiet, patient feedback of environment and circumstance. The first plants emerge on distant lands, tentative and delicate. You watch their slow conquest of stone and soil, roots curling and leaves stretching toward the sun. You feel the heartbeat of photosynthesis as a soft, steady pulse, a rhythm that sustains and transforms everything around it. You notice how organisms begin to interact, forming symphonies of dependence and cooperation. Life is not solitary. It is a conversation, unfolding across millennia, each adaptation a gentle note in the song of survival. As you glide forward in time, you sense the rise of more complex forms. Simple animals become more intricate, their bodies specialized, their senses refined. You see fins giving way to limbs, scales transforming into feathers, eyes opening to the subtle colors of a richer world. You feel the wonder of these transformations, not as a sudden spectacle, but as a careful, deliberate shaping. Every adaptation is a soft response to circumstance. A tweak here, a small improvement there. Nature moves with elegance, never hurried, yet profoundly persistent. You drift among early mammals, small and inconspicuous, moving through forests that hum with life. You notice the rhythms of birth, growth, and death, the delicate balance between predator and prey. Evolution shapes not only the bodies but the behaviors, the instincts, the very strategies of survival. You sense this shaping as a soft, invisible hand, molding life's forms and actions with infinite patience. You understand that evolution is neither cruel nor random. It is a quiet force, responding to the world with a slow, persistent intelligence. Your journey carries you to early primates, and eventually to humans. You feel the subtle emergence of curiosity, of reflection, of awareness. Each step is slow, deliberate, building on countless tiny shifts in anatomy, cognition, and behavior. You imagine these ancestors moving through forests, discovering tools, communicating with gestures and sounds. You sense that evolution's song continues in them, in you, in every thought, every heartbeat, every breath. You are part of a continuum, a living thread in an ancient melody that never ceases. You consider the patterns of adaptation that appear across species. Wings in birds and bats, fins in fish and whales, eyes in countless lineages, each unique yet resonating with common themes. You see the echoes of solutions repeated, refined, and reshaped across time. There is a deep comfort in these patterns. They remind you that life is resilient, resourceful, and persistent. Even the smallest change can reverberate across generations, gently nudging the course of evolution forward. You feel the calm inevitability of extinction as well. Life is constantly renewing, and some forms fade quietly, leaving space for others to flourish. Extinction is not tragedy alone. It is part of the soft rhythm, a necessary shaping of the living world. You sense that the universe is not chaotic, even in loss. It moves with a patient, unhurried logic, shaping, refining, and allowing new possibilities to emerge. You rest in the understanding that nothing is ever truly wasted. Even what disappears leaves subtle traces in the ongoing melody. You drift through the present, feeling the continuity of life from the tiniest microbe to the tallest tree, from the simplest animal to the complexity of your own body. You are a living archive, carrying in your DNA whispers of countless ancestors and adaptations. Each cell in your body is a testament to patience, to endurance, to the soft persistence of life. You feel connected to this vast, quiet history, understanding that you are both an observer and participant in evolution's gentle song. Your thoughts begin to float toward the future. The melody of evolution continues quietly around you, shaping life even now in ways both subtle and profound. You sense that the process is ongoing, that the gentle shaping of life is a never-ending rhythm. You rest in this thought, feeling the calm continuity of existence, the soft unfolding of time, the patient crafting of all living forms. And as you let your mind drift further, you wonder what future adaptations might arise, what new forms of life may emerge, all quietly composed in the same ancient, soothing song. You begin by imagining yourself shrinking, becoming smaller and smaller until you drift alongside the spirals of DNA. The double helix stretches endlessly before you, its elegant curves reflecting light as if they were strands of liquid crystal. Each rung, each base pair, is a note in a composition older than human thought, and you feel the quiet anticipation of discovery pressing gently at your mind. Here, within these microscopic spirals, lies the blueprint not only of your body but of countless generations, each echoing life's choices and adaptations. You notice that DNA is not a rigid script, but a dynamic story. The letters A, T, C, and G pair and twist in ways that feel almost musical. They encode proteins, and proteins build structures, send signals, and carry out the intricate dance of life. Watching them, you sense that understanding this code is like learning a new language, one that allows you to converse with the very essence of living beings. It is a language of possibility, where even a small insight can ripple outward, shaping medicine, conservation, and personal well-being. You imagine scientists peering into this language with gentle curiosity, reading patterns and discovering pathways that can guide healing. They do not impose force, but rather listen, deciphering the ways in which DNA whispers instructions. In one quiet lab, a researcher observes how a single gene affects metabolism, imagining a world where such understanding helps people thrive. In another, conservationists study the genomes of endangered species, discovering which adaptations have allowed life to persist against harsh climates. You sense a common thread, respect for the natural rhythm of life, a deliberate nudging rather than a harsh rewriting. As you float deeper into the microcosm, you notice how small interventions can have enormous potential. CRISPR, the gene editing tool, is like a delicate brush in a painter's hand. Scientists can remove a small imperfection or adjust a single note in a genetic symphony without disturbing the harmony around it. You imagine a world where inherited diseases no longer dictate suffering, where crops and forests grow resiliently alongside humans, and where medical treatments are tailored to the unique composition of each person. This is a future written in genes, waiting patiently for careful hands and thoughtful minds. Yet, understanding DNA is more than prediction or correction. It is also dialogue. Every environment leaves subtle marks on the genome. Every experience gently nudges the expression of life's code. These epigenetic whispers remind you that the future is not only in the strands themselves but in the interactions between organisms and the world. You feel the potential to guide your own well-being, sensing how nutrition, stress, and movement send tiny messages to your cells. Life becomes a collaboration, a shared conversation between you and the microscopic architects within. You notice the elegance of evolution mirrored in these interactions. Just as species have adapted over eons, humans now have tools to understand the principles of change more consciously. It is as if you are walking along a river whose currents are written in invisible patterns. You see that the choices you make ripple outward, shaping not only your health but also the subtle environment of your genes. The idea is both humbling and empowering, a quiet invitation to act thoughtfully while remaining in harmony with natural processes. In the realm of medicine, you observe the patience embedded in every process. Personalized therapies, guided by genomic understanding, unfold like soft petals opening to the sun. Treatments target specific pathways, correcting dysfunctions with precision while preserving balance. You imagine a doctor not as a wielder of blunt instruments, but as a gentle conductor, orchestrating healing in alignment with the body's own rhythms. Each decision feels measured, deliberate, an act of curiosity and care rather than urgency or force. As your vision widens, you see conservation efforts illuminated by genetic insight. Populations of plants and animals are monitored not only by what is visible but by what is encoded invisibly. Conservationists use this knowledge to support genetic diversity, ensuring resilience in the face of environmental change. You watch forests, rivers, and plains sustain themselves, guided by the understanding that life's threads are interconnected. The genome becomes a map of relationships, a quiet record of adaptation, survival, and coexistence. You reflect on personal well-being, noticing how small choices resonate through your body at the molecular level. Sleep, movement, nourishment, and even thought influence which genes awaken and which remain silent. The interplay of lifestyle and genetics feels like tending a garden. You imagine gently nurturing your inner landscape, where understanding DNA helps you grow with intention rather than force. The future unfolds slowly, deliberately, as you recognize your role as both observer and participant in life's ongoing narrative. As you drift among these spirals, you also feel the vast horizon of unknowns. Every discovery opens doors to more questions, gentle mysteries waiting to be understood. You sense the quiet promise of yet-to-be-realized breakthroughs. Therapies that are kinder, ecosystems that are more resilient, and human lives that are healthier and more intentional. DNA becomes a canvas of hope, a record of what has been and a guide to what could be. You rest in the awareness that the future is written not in haste, but in curiosity, care, and understanding. Even as you return from the microscopic world, the impression remains. Life's code is both ancient and immediate, a map for discovery and a mirror of choice. You feel gratitude for the careful hands that read these spirals, for the wisdom embedded in evolution, and for the possibilities that lie ahead. The knowledge of DNA is a gentle reminder that the smallest interventions can resonate profoundly, that the future can be guided thoughtfully, and that understanding is the softest kind of power. And so you drift outward, leaving the twisting ladders of DNA behind, carrying with you a sense of calm curiosity. You know that tomorrow, and every day after, offers subtle ways to engage with this code. Ways to heal, to conserve, to thrive, without disturbing the delicate balance of life. The journey into the future written in genes leaves you poised on the threshold of discovery, quietly aware that much is yet to unfold, and that each small step is part of a vast, patient story just beginning to reveal itself. You float back toward the spirals of DNA, the elegant molecules that carry the essence of life. Their helical curves twist and turn with gentle purpose, a quiet rhythm that has persisted for eons. You imagine them glowing softly, each base pair, adenine with thymine, cytosine with guanine, like notes in a lullaby, resonating through the depths of time. The strands seem alive, not in urgency, but in a steady, patient cadence, humming the instructions that sustain every heartbeat, every thought, every breath. As you drift closer, the spirals feel intimate and familiar, like the soft curve of a river seen from above, meandering through landscapes both ancient and new. Each segment carries a story, a memory of survival and adaptation, a whisper from ancestors long gone. You sense how life's continuity is woven into this code, each organism a verse in a vast, ongoing poem. There is a quiet beauty in realizing that within these molecular twists lies both the past and the promise of the future. Your attention moves along the DNA as it unwinds gently. You follow its spirals, feeling the rhythm of replication, of instruction and creation. Proteins begin to emerge in your imagination, tiny dancers folding and unfolding with perfect precision. Some carry oxygen through the blood, others defend against invaders, yet all perform their tasks without fanfare. You marvel at the choreography, at how each molecule knows its role, how every fold and twist contributes to a harmonious whole. Life is a performance, delicate yet resilient, silent yet profound. Epigenetic marks appear like delicate brushstrokes on the canvas of the code, guiding which genes awaken and which remain asleep. These markings respond to environment, experience, and time, shaping the flow of life in subtle ways. You sense the dialogue between fixed instruction and flexible expression, the balance that allows organisms to persist, adapt, and flourish. Life is not rigid. It is responsive, gentle, and patient. The DNA hums its quiet melody, accommodating change while preserving continuity, and you feel a deep calm in this balance. You notice echoes of the past embedded in the spirals. Each segment is a footprint of generations, a record of migrations, of survival through storms, of quiet moments of connection. You trace the paths of ancestors, sensing their resilience, their curiosity, their adaptability. It is comforting to realize that your own presence is a continuation of this ongoing story, part of a vast and intimate web that stretches across time. The strands do not judge, do not hurry. They simply exist, carrying life's narrative with infinite patience. The spirals seem to pulse softly, responding to an unseen rhythm. Microbes dwell within and around you, invisible companions shaping digestion, immunity, and even mood. You imagine them moving in quiet harmony with your cells, a community of unseen collaborators. Life is not solitary. It is relational, interwoven, a delicate network of cooperation and balance. You breathe in the thought that you are part of this intricate dance, connected to both the visible and the hidden, to the living present and the long reach of history. Mutations, once feared as errors, now appear as gentle variations, subtle nudges in the ongoing song of life. Some fade away unnoticed. Others ripple forward, shaping adaptations that unfold slowly over generations. You sense the patience of evolution, the quiet artistry in life's persistence. Change is not abrupt or violent. It is measured, deliberate, like the erosion of stone by wind and rain. There is comfort in this understanding, that life's processes are patient, consistent, and infinitely thoughtful. Your imagination lingers on the strand's infinite potential. DNA is more than a molecule. It is a storyteller, a guide, a reminder of continuity. Each living organism shares this language, no matter how small or vast. You feel kinship with all living things, a gentle recognition that beneath diversity lies a shared blueprint. There is awe in this realization, a sense that life's code folds the vastness of the world into something tender, intimate, and profoundly connecting. As you drift further, you sense the spirals vibrating with quiet energy, a rhythm that seems almost like a heartbeat of the planet itself. They whisper of survival, curiosity, and creation, reaching across time to touch the present moment. You feel the elegance in these processes, the precision and grace in every replication, repair, and interaction. Life is deliberate, not hurried. The molecules perform their tasks faithfully, ensuring that the song of existence continues without fanfare, without pause. Sleep begins to approach as you rest in this gentle awareness. The spirals fold in soft layers, the sequences becoming dreamlike patterns in your mind. Gratitude rises for the instructions that sustain life, for the invisible choreography that allows existence to persist, for the gentle continuity that connects you to the world and to the past. You sense that DNA is not merely chemical, but relational and poetic, a bridge between the tangible and the mysterious. In this quiet, you feel the profound interconnectedness of all life. Every breath, every movement, every thought carries the gentle influence of these strands. They are patient, enduring, and unfailingly present. You rest in this realization, comforted by the unbroken thread linking all organisms, all moments, all experiences. There is no urgency, no finality, only the soft hum of life, continuous and embracing.